In many ways, the 2024 election was a referendum on the Democrats' open border policies. For 4 years, they opened America's borders and deliberately trafficked at least 6 million illegal aliens directly into our communities, while the Border Patrol was overwhelmed arranging lodging, transportation, food, healthcare, and legal services for this massive population. Another 2 million gotaways entered our country as well. The result was devastating to our nation, and it produced one of the greatest political realignments in our nation's history. Americans suffered as their classrooms filled with non-English speaking students, their hospitals were overwhelmed by illegals demanding care, their food pantries stripped bare, and homeless shelters filled to capacity. The cost of these services is estimated at $160 billion a year, or about $1,250 from the taxes of an average American household annually. More ominously, among this population were the most violent criminals, criminal gangs, and cartels on the planet, often shielded by Democrat sanctuary laws and leftist DAs and judges. The sad, senseless, and entirely preventable tragedies produced by these policies continue to unfold before us on a daily basis. For 4 years, the Democrats in this Congress and this committee told us this was for our own good, and besides, there wasn't anything we could do about it anyway, short of their demand for widespread amnesty. But the American people knew better. They knew, as President Trump put it, that we didn't need new laws, we needed a new president. And we got one. And within 30 days, illegal border crossings were cut 96%, and traffic across the deadly Darien Gap dropped 99%, saving thousands of lives. Since taking office, roughly 150,000 illegal migrants, many with criminal convictions or charges, have been detained by the Trump administration as required by law, and the largest illegal mass migration in history is now being redressed by the largest repatriation. Reportedly, roughly 1 million illegal migrants have already decided to voluntarily return to their own countries as a result. We have a long way to go to restore the integrity of our immigration laws. Violent mobs in our cities have repeatedly attacked law enforcement officers carrying out these laws, and Democratic officials have said that the violence will stop once enforcement stops. In other words, if we enforce the law as the American people demanded, Democrats will burn our cities to the ground. Well, we're not going to allow such intimidation to prevail. In the coming months, we will report out of the Judiciary Committee a new version of H.R. 2, which will assure that this deliberate and rampant illegality can never again threaten our nation, our communities, or our people. The purpose of today's hearing is to determine to what extent our legal immigration system has been exploited, abused, and defrauded, and to recommend measures to assure that legal immigration to the United States is legitimate, honest, fully vetted, and above board, serving the interests of both the United States and those honest and law-abiding immigrants who seek to come here legally. America has the most generous legal immigration system in the world. During fiscal year 2023, the U.S. government issued more than 10.4 million non-immigrant visas, while nearly 1.2 million aliens became lawful permanent residents through the immigrant visa system. We will devote a future hearing to the deliberate subversion of the visa process by the Biden administration when the Inspector General publishes one of his forthcoming reports. Suffice it to say for now that during those 4 years, the administration sacrificed integrity and security in the screening process in issuing visas, exploiting the discretion and the legal requirement for in-person interviews with a consular officer. Integrity in the visa process is a matter of national security for our country. Take, for instance, the case of Mohammed Suleiman, who perpetrated a depraved anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado earlier this month. Suleiman had previously been denied a visa on at least one occasion, but was issued a visitor visa in 2022. 1 month after his arrival in the United States, Suleiman filed an asylum application. Such action clearly showed that he never intended to leave the U.S. once here, as required by his tourist visa. Subsequent statements by his family members have validated that assertion. Cases like this demonstrate why it is imperative that State Department and Department of Homeland Security employees who adjudicate visas have as much information as possible about the applicants. Some of that information is supplied by the alien during the application process, while other information is available through the U.S. government interagency screening and vetting process. But as we have heard in previous testimony about illegal alien border crossers, if an alien has no criminal or other security-related record, it's like they're, quote, being vetted against a blank sheet of paper, as one witness told this subcommittee last year. The same is true of aliens seeking visas. And there can be no substitute for looking virtually every applicant in the eye and questioning their motives, intent, and plans. Once again, President Trump has taken decisive action to improve screening and vetting of visa applicants. On Inauguration Day, he directed relevant agencies to identify deficiencies in the visa process and the resources available to allow for maximum vetting of visa applicants. Pursuant to that executive order, the administration has identified 19 countries that were uncooperative or deficient in providing background information on applicants, and the president accordingly restricted issuance of visas to their nationals. Non-immigrant visa categories that are rife with fraud and abuse include the student visa program, where fake schools are set up for the sole purpose of facilitating fraudulent claims of student status. The U visa is offered to those who are victims or witnesses to crimes and offer a path to U.S. citizenship. It should be no surprise that criminal rings have been uncovered that stage phony crimes and take advantage of this process. Fraud and lax vetting in the visa process do not exist solely in the non-immigrant visa context. The immigrant visa process is also routinely abused and exploited. Take, for example, the diversity visa program known as the visa lottery. Not only do bad actors impersonate U.S. government officials to try to get diversity applicants to pay them money, but fake documents and sham marriages have become commonplace. The Special Immigrant Juvenile Program is also susceptible to fraud and misuse, allowing 20-year-old foreign nationals to falsely claim abuse by a parent and be allowed to remain in the U.S. nearly indefinitely. And the VAWA self-petition process, conducted in secret without the knowledge of the U.S. citizen spouse, has also been subject to fraud as well. As this administration closes this dangerous chapter of outright illegal immigration under Biden, we must also protect our legal channels from fraud and abuse. That's the purpose of today's hearing, and we look to our witnesses for their guidance and suggestions on doing so.